good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, everyone, everywhere, depending on where you are watching, whether you're watching us live, whether you're with us on Facebook, whether you're joining from another country. Welcome. We are so happy you're here today. You know, in this day and age, a lot of us are living longer. We're living to be older. 50 is the new 40. Actually, maybe it's the new 30. People are living into their 70s and their 80s. Some of them are living into their 90s. I just buried my bishop yesterday at 94. But we can't live to these ripe old ages if we don't have a healthy lifestyle. If we're not eating right, we're not exercising right, we need to have a healthy lifestyle. Now, don't think that you've got to change everything at the first start. You got to start gun ho and change everything about the way you eat, the way you exercise. We encourage you to pick one thing and change that. Just get consistent with one change at a time, and then we can move on from there. And then in a week's time, we can see some significant changes. Welcome to Africa Online. I'm your co-host, Prophetess Lisa Parks, and today we are talking about healthy lifestyle. We're going to be joined this afternoon by our special guest, Dr. BJ Taza. She will be coming on shortly. But in the meantime, we will have our editorial by my co-host, Professor Nia Sun. How are you this afternoon?
Good afternoon. Fine, thank you. It's a wet Sunday afternoon. It's been wet since last night. Actually, since 10 o'clock last night, it's been raining. And we're just watching the way we drive on the highway. Luckily, don't have to. I just had to drive to church, which is a mile from the house. So that was not a problem. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you again today, Sunday, the 28th day of January 2024. Yes, it is the 28th of January. January is almost out of the way, isn't it? It is the 28th day of the year. Yes, 28th, January 28th, 28 days, because the year started on the 1st of January. So we still have 338 days, let me tell you that. We still have 338 days to count to the end of 2024. That's a long way, isn't it? So just be happy and make sure that you do this every morning you get up. Thank you very much. It is the fourth Sunday of 2024 on the fifth week of 2024, and it is the 39th day of winter. Yes, winter has been gone for 39 days. There are usually about 90 days in winter, so we still have 51 days left until spring. Yeah, my favorite season. January 28, among many things, is Global Community Engagement Day. Yes, Global Community Engagement Day. Are you engaged? Are you with us? Are you in the community? It is also International Lego Day. Well, I don't play Lego. I don't have anything to do with Lego, but I know you can do it. You do it all the same. So one gloomy memory to share on this day in 1986. Yes, everyone here was born already. The United States Space Shuttle, the Challenger, exploded 73 seconds after liftoff from Florida, killing all 7 aboard, including a school teacher who had been chosen as the first American civilian to travel in space. It was indeed a sad day. Something else to remember on this January 28th is that it is World Leprosy Day. Yes, remember in the good old days, people had to wear bells if they were infected by that disease, to be ringing with leprosy, leprosy, leprosy. So it is another sad day to remember because it was not a happy time. Luckily, it is virtually wiped out, but not totally. But all the same, leprosy was and is a challenge to humanity. And even though our topic of discussion is friendly, we need a greater understanding of that key word, lifestyle. Life what? Lifestyle. And when we understand it, we may still have to require medical experts to explain to us why interventions are necessary in that area of social existence. We may equally want to know why it is a gift of choice. Why do we have to associate that with it? All the same, let it be. So what is lifestyle? And what is lifestyle medicine? Yes, that is what was added to it, lifestyle medicine. What is it all about? Why associate gift of choice to it all? One of Africa Online Media Corporation's in-house medical team members, Dr. B. Tazong, well, I add the last name Fomundam, is here today. She will be here in a minute to join us to shine the light on lifestyle medicine, the gift of choice. It may sound new, but seems to have been hiding in plain sight. Or is it that we know about it, live with it, but never really pay attention to it? Africa Online Media Corporation on this Sunday, the 28th day of January, needs to hear from you during our latest discussion. Lifestyle medicine may sound new, but it deserves our attention. So join us as we raise awareness on the topic. To do that, we turn over now to our in-house medical team member, Dr. B. Tazong-Fomundam, and say, hello, Dr. B. Tazong. It's been a while. We've missed you.
Hello, Nia Song. Happy New Year. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here always. Thank you and the rest of the team for all the wonderful things you do. Because of you, people have hope, they have access to information and to resources, and that is priceless.
So, Dr. B. Tazong, what is this all about? Welcome to the discussion in the first place. What is lifestyle medicine all about? And what about this gift of choice? Is it your choice or my choice or our choice? So over to you. Take your time.
All right. So I'm going to give a little introduction here. And then I'll explain why lifestyle is a big deal. So just a few minutes ago, I wanted to look at the most up-to-date information on the leading causes of death around the world. I'm going to give 3 categories. So the first one, leading causes of death in the US. This accounts for 75% of all deaths in the US. And I'm going to list them in the order of their importance. In the US, the first one is heart disease. The second one is cancer. The third one is COVID-19. The fourth one is accidents, basically unintentional injury. The fifth is stroke. Sixth is chronic lower respiratory diseases. The seventh is Alzheimer's. 8 is diabetes. 9 is chronic liver disease and cirrhosis. And 10 is kidney disease. This is based on 2021 data. Now, if you go just around the world, this one was from the CDC. The other one is from the World Health Organization. Around the world, leading causes: heart disease, stroke, COPD, lower respiratory infections, neonatal, that's newborn conditions, cancers of the respiratory tract, Alzheimer's, diarrheal diseases, diabetes, and kidney diseases. Low-income countries, the first one is neonatal, second is lower respiratory infections, third is heart disease, fourth is stroke, fifth is diarrheal diseases, sixth is malaria, seventh, road injuries, 8 TB, 9 HIV/AIDS, and 10 liver cirrhosis. The reason why this is important is because if you cannot identify a problem, you can't fix it. So whenever you have a challenge, you need to know, first of all, what you're dealing with, and then you can come up with a strategy. If we listen to most of these things, we'd realize that most of these diseases are tied to choices. They're tied to decisions that we make on a daily basis in our lives, and they culminate in either good health or bad health. So, for example, heart disease, what you're eating, becoming obese, and just a lot of other things that are tied to that. Same thing with stroke. A lot of infections we get, part of it is tied to hygiene, part of it is tied to government policies. So choices, there are different levels of choices. There are choices that we make as individuals, and there are choices that are made on a national level, and those are policies. I know that not everywhere in the world do people have an opportunity to decide who leads them, but in parts where people make a decision, realize that if you're voting for the wrong person, you're asking for the wrong decisions to be made about you. And so don't be surprised when the outcomes are terrible. So again, choice is a big part of it. And so when I talk about lifestyle medicine, I always want to bring that up. Lifestyle basically talks about the style that you choose to live your life. It's very simple. And I'm going to break it down in a moment. But the reason it's tied to choice is because it's a style. Every time you have a style, it has to do with choice. So what is choice? Choice is a noun. It's defined as an act or instance of choosing, selecting one thing over another. It's the right, the power or opportunity to choose, and also something about being chosen. So choice really, I when I thought about it more intensely, I realized anything that requires an action by default requires a choice. So when I'm thinking about anything that you have to do that requires you to do something, you have to make a choice. Choice is often underrated. Um, we always think, well, my options are very limited, but the truth is that there are different levels of limitations, but everybody still has a choice. And wherever you are, in whatever situation you find yourself, you can make a choice about how you want to live your life. So I'm gonna just go back again and say, choice is a gift for surviving and thriving. You need to understand it. Choice is not you having the power to do whatever you want to do. It's actually the having the right opportunity and power to make good decisions, because every decision that you make is gonna count in the long run. So whatever is happening to most of us today is a product of the choices we made yesterday. Unfortunately, you can't retrieve yesterday, but you can redeem tomorrow by making better choices today. And that's the same thing with our health. And that's where lifestyle medicine comes in. So if you understand what choice is and you realize that you can choose no matter what situation you find yourself in, then it is a good idea to know what choices you have available to you. So again, if you think about the things we went over, the leading causes of death in the world, in the US, in the world, and then in lower income countries, you see that they're mostly tied to choices, and that's where lifestyle medicine comes in. And I think lifestyle medicine, if you want to think about it in a very simple way, is the branch of medicine that has been silent but very impactful in every way. And right now, it's just been brought back to light. This is how people choose to live. And there are many people that are working tirelessly to come up with data to support what we have already known for a long time. So lifestyle medicine is evidence-based medicine, and it is basically supporting the way that we ought to live our lives. And we have 6 areas. We call them the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. I'm gonna just list them, and then I'll let Nia give me some feedback before we move forward. So the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine are nutrition, exercise, substance abuse, stress management, sleep, and relationships, or basically social connections. We're going to get into those in a moment. I'm going to return the floor to Nia Song and to the hosts.
Thanks, and welcome to the show again. We are pleased to begin to understand what lifestyle medicine is about. But let us go to co-host Ambassador Prophetess Lisa. You must have some questions troubling your mind.
Yes, I do. As Dr. B was talking about the list from the WHO and the CDC of diseases, she talked about malaria. And we know that malaria is something that most people get who live on the continent. We know that it comes from mosquitoes. We know that malaria comes from that still water and it's dirty and the mosquito bites you. So in the context, Dr. B, of lifestyle and lifestyle medicine, how do we help our daughters and our sons on the continent to avoid getting malaria? Because we know they don't have the medications and things that we have. Those things are not readily available. So how do we help with the way we eat or the way they drink?
So I'm grateful that you asked that question, and that's why when I did my research, I tried to find data for different demographics. And of course, malaria is a big problem for a lot of underdeveloped countries. And I hate to use that word, but the way I look at it too is that we have not developed our full potential. It's not that we are born to be low or to be low on the ladder of human existence. It's because we have chosen to live at that level. We have chosen through our leaders and through our own personal decisions and refusal to learn and to make changes to live at that level. Nobody was born to be an underperformer. We make choices that put us in that situation. And I'm not trying to blame innocent victims. You will always have innocent victims. But even in those situations, people have choices. So, for example, I remember when we were growing up, one of the things they said is, how do you prevent malaria? Sweep your yard, make sure there's no standing water, keep the place clean, and we had the songs we used to sing and be sweeping the yard and trying to make sure there was no standing water, no puddles, make sure your environment is clean. That way you don't allow a breeding ground for malaria. The bigger thing would be that we need leaders who care enough to work to eradicate these places where the malaria parasite can grow and replicate. So we have a lot of things that need to be done, but at every level, there are little things that people can do, and then now we have nets that they give to people to put over their homes and everything. I think something very simple that we underestimate, like here in the US, when they build houses, there's netting on the windows immediately. But back in Cameroon, for example, people still build houses and they leave windows without netting. And I'm like, that is a very easy way to control the movement of bugs into and out of your house. Why are we not doing it? Why are we not learning from those who have done it well?
Not only, Dr. B, not only are they not building windows with netting, they're not building windows, period. They'll build a house with a hole there, and a lot of houses still have no window, period. They may put a curtain up, but curtains are not going to stop mosquitoes from coming in. You're right. So why are we still building houses without putting a window in?
And that's why I say, we refuse to learn. It's true that we have a human flavor to everything, every culture. We don't want to take that away. But personally, I always say that if I see somebody doing something well, it's productive and it's not taking away from my human dignity. I want to learn from them. If I see somebody doing something, I'm asking, why is this person in good health? What are they doing differently that I am not doing? I want to learn it. Why are they not getting a lot of malaria like myself? Why are they not dying on the road as much as other people? We should always be open to learning and stop saying, well, this is just how we do stuff. Well, it's not working. Change it.
It's not working, change it. Lifestyle, well, that is it. So if I don't eat right, I'm certainly fall sick, isn't it? If I live just anyhow, I drink 10 beers a day or 10 beers an hour or 10 beers, I don't know, I will certainly get sick. So let me give the floor to other people first before I ask my question. Sister Ruth Priestley, you've been on the screen since this show started. What questions do you have for Dr. B?
Well, I want to say, Dr. B, I always love hearing what you have to say because it makes sense. And for me, a lot of it is we know what to do, but we choose not to do it sometimes. So
choice.
It's choice. Like she said, it's a choice.
Yeah.
And one of the things I say to people who say it's hard, I said is it harder to eat an apple or drink some water or to have to take your foot off or lose? Is it harder to change your diet than to lose a foot or a knee or have to have 15 surgeries? Which is, you have to choose your heart. So when you come across your patients, have you ever had to tell a patient, you know what, I can't help you because you just don't want to listen?
I think, Mrs. Ruth, one thing that you have to do when you're taking care of people is be compassionate. And I think about it the same way. That's the same way that God is compassionate with us. And that's how we also learn to be compassionate with our children, because habits are very hard to change and to break. And then people have a lot of other things going on. And that's one of the reasons I really love lifestyle medicine, because it's not just about habits, it's about the whole person. Because there are things that people do and they know they are wrong, but there's a reason why they're doing it. And for you to help them break that habit, you need to help them go to the root and destroy the root of the problem. So there's somebody who may, for example, be drinking a lot or abusing substances. A lot of times there's something else going on in the background that they're trying to cover up. And if you don't help them deal with that stuff or help them bring it to light and deal with it, you will never get them to break the other habit. The habit is just a coping mechanism. Same thing with food. Same thing with choices that people make. We like a lot of human beings, first of all, we don't like change. Change is difficult. Choices are also difficult. Choices require discipline. Because like you said, a lot of people know the right thing. So I hardly ever tell my patients that I will not help you. I'll tell them that right now, I'm going to give you all the options, but you always have a right to decide what you want to do. But also realize that there are consequences to what you're going to do, and these are the consequences. And if you're okay with that, then I'm at peace with that too, because I've given you everything that I can. The worst thing to try to do is to change people. You can't do it. You're going to die trying, and you're going to die angry. Don't do it. Let people make the decision. Even God himself, who is the master of the universe, he doesn't force us to change. He tells us choose. But when you choose, be ready for the consequences. That's what I always present to my patients. And if you're not ready to make change today, I understand, okay? Go ahead and take your time. Whenever you're ready for change, I will do the best I can to continue to be compassionate to you, because at the end of the day, you get to make the decisions on whether this works or not me.
That's a very good point, Dr. P.
Yeah.
Excuse me, that's a very good point. You know, we give the people the options and we let them choose. Because, you know, when we allow people to choose, the scripture says the power of life and death is in our tongue. But at the same time, God says, choose life. So when we allow people to choose, we empower them. As opposed to say, you need to do this, you need to do that. But when we empower them, they can grab a hold of the principles and they can do it much better. And they will want to do it because it's a decision that they made. I like that. You know, especially as a doctor who you spend your time and you want to see the people get better and you're doing everything you can and you're pushing and they're not doing, and then you end up frustrating. So she gives them an option to do it. And I'm here for you when you make the decision to choose. That's very key. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Continuing the round of the table, let us go to Dr. Gloria Crossley. Dr. Gloria, are you there today to ask a question to Dr. B about? Yes, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. It's a wonderful platform. Thank you so much. Wonderful conversation. And I'm just learning so much and just sipping on some vitamin C over here. So I guess my question would be, in lifestyle medicine, do we mention vitamin C? Thank you.
Hope Dr. B approves that that vitamin in the first place, because doctors must approve even vitamins that you take. Dr. B, am I right in that?
Well, it's a good idea to check with your doctor. I'm going to give a disclaimer here and say a lot of times if we don't have enough data to support an action, we try not to say much about it. But if it's definitely something that will hurt you, we say don't do it. I'm going to be honest, during COVID, and sometimes even now, we take a lot of vitamin C because it kind of helps to boost the immune system. And if you remember the history of scurvy, when those men were on the ship and they kept having all these infections and breakdown of their skin, it was tied to lack of vitamin C. So I'm not going to sit here and try to play down things that work. You just have to make sure it doesn't harm you, and always run it by your doctor. And you know, there are other resources, like the NIH has a website. One of their things that they do is alternative medicine or integrative. I think they have a lot of data there about vitamins. The only vitamins that I would really ask you to be very cautious about are the fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, and K. Because the body stores up those ones. You know, vitamin C, if you take too much, your body's just going to pee out the rest of it. Most of the other water-soluble vitamins, you pee them out. But the fat-soluble ones, they can accumulate and get to a point where they can cause toxicity. So, and I would say that nature has a lot of those things built in already. Unfortunately, because of our diet here, we don't get to have access to all those things the way we should. So if you're supplementing, that's fine, as long as it's not interfering with other things that you'll be using, and as long as it's not causing you any harm, you can absolutely use it. The goal is for people to stay well and healthy. It's not to deprive people of the joy of living.
Right.
That
Yeah.
Yes, Reverend.
I was just going to add to Dr. B, the one thing about taking herbs and supplements and medication is that you need that 2-hour gap. Our naturopath insists that if you're going to take you need to take the prescribed medicines, but you're trying to switch and wind off and you want to take the herbs and supplements, there has to be a 2-hour gap in between. So you cannot take herbs and supplements and meds at the same time, because then you're sending your body into all kinds of toxic shocks and situations like that. So we need to be mindful, and like you said, talk to your doctors and your naturopaths about anything that you're about to take.
We will now turn to Debbie McCormick. Sister, welcome on board. Unmute yourself. You certainly have a question about lifestyle and choices. Ask your question to Dr. B. Tazong.
Thank you. Thank you, Uncle Assam. Welcome, Dr. B. Appreciate this wonderful topic today. The question I have is regarding malaria, and especially in the continent and West Africa. just this week, I've read a lot of fights from parents not wanting. I hear that there is a vaccine out there for malaria for children. Do you know if that is true? And if yes, how safe is it so we can educate our families? Thank you.
All right, ma'am. So I just saw a flashpoint about the malaria vaccine. I have not read enough about it to say much about it. I will say one thing though, vaccines have a very strong record of preventing disease and illness, death. Now, that doesn't change what people feel about it, because this is one of the problems. When you have bad leadership, it causes a loss of trust. Trust is the only currency in which human beings truly traffic. Once you break down trust, everything else becomes very complicated. So I think we can insist all we want to. We saw that during COVID and so on. But until people can regain trust in the system, they're never going to subject themselves to anything if they can help it. I think we need people who are vested in those people whom they trust and whom they believe in, to go in one-on-one and talk with them and help them and encourage them. But also, if you're going to talk about it, you should take it and show them I've taken it. And sometimes time is the only thing that would help. Like if you've taken it and they watched you and they see nothing happened, then they say, okay, maybe I can do this. And then sometimes the circumstances force people to do what they have to do. Like, when they start getting those infections and they see other kids who got it and they're not getting sick, they start wondering, I wonder if that thing really works. So again, I feel while it's important to implement policy, it's very difficult to succeed when you're pushing against people that resist your idea or your concept. So I think the bigger thing right now is building trust. The people that develop the vaccine need to take time and be honest with people and be open about what they're doing, so that people can see that there's nothing funny going on here. Because apart from just the whole thing that happened with COVID, there was a time when I was growing up where people said that we had these foreign agencies that came and they were injecting African children because they wanted to basically stop them from having children. They like, instead of giving them real vaccines, they were giving them anti-fertility vaccines. Again, who knows if that's true or not, but we also have a history of a lot of bad will from foreign organizations. And so it's not an easy question to answer. I'm going to look more into that vaccine, and if I find any answers, I would let you know. I think, again, that trust is the bigger part of the situation here. Building trust, building confidence, showing people that we mean well and we mean good, and getting those people to be a buy-in. You cannot develop a vaccine from somewhere and come and tell people to take it. Those people need to be part of that development process. They need to see what's going on. They need to trust it. They need to believe in it. And then at that point, it's easier to get them to commit to it. Thank you.
Yes, this is a story I pulled from the BBC this past week. The world's first routine vaccine program against malaria has kicked off in Cameroon. That was on Monday, the 22nd, in a move projected to save thousands of children's lives in the country and across Africa. The symbolic first jab was given to a baby girl named Daniela at a health facility near Yaoundé, the capital. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, every year 600,000 people die of malaria in Africa. Children under 5 make up at least 80% of those deaths. Cameroon is offering the RTS vaccine free of charge to all infants under the age of 6 months, and patients require a total of 4 doses. Health officials say these will be given at the same time as other routine childhood vaccines to make it easier for parents. The United Nations Children Emergency Fund, UNICEF, says the vaccine comes after successful pilot campaigns in Kenya, Ghana, and malaria, as well as other countries in the world. The jab is known to be effective in at least 36% of cases, according to the United States researchers, meaning it could save over 1 in 3 lives. I read about it before, and I heard about it when it was being tried, when they announced that a vaccine had been made for malaria. So we are, as Dr. B says, still reading into it, still researching, and still finding out. I know there were protests in Cameroon where they were telling parents not to get their children vaccinated, but there was a counter that came out to say that no, the vaccine has been tested, it is good, and parents should be allowed to let their children be vaccinated. Dr. B will continue to look into that because we're not contesting, we're just saying that information is the key and good information is better. And as you say, in a country where leadership is not trusted, it is difficult to accept certain things just like that. That being said, lifestyle medicine. Okay, let's continue. What are you doing, Dr. B, to inform and educate our people on the continent about lifestyle medicine or lifestyle living? Good
okay,
lifestyle.
Yes. So again, we talked about the 6 pillars. Hopefully, if everybody walks away from here today, they'll take some stuff away, at least know the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. The first one is nutrition. So our push is for food being medication. Food is your primary medication. If you eat right, your body is going to behave right for the most part. And even when you run into problems, your body still has the capacity to behave better because you've actually primed it to withstand a warfare. So food is medicine. Choose predominantly whole food, plant-based nutrition, things that are rich in fiber and nutrients and are nutrient dense, not calorie dense. And so what we're talking about is lots of vegetables, fruits, beans, lentils, nuts and seeds, whole grains, and basically eat close to the ground. I want to say that lifestyle medicine actually kind of appeals to me, not only because I feel like it's God's way of keeping us healthy, but also because if you look at parts of the world where people eat closer to the ground, you find fewer health issues. You find fewer issues with obesity, heart disease, and so on. And the moment they shift from those things, you see their health issues start going upwards. And so I want to encourage our people to start focusing, stop trying to eat like developed nations. They're trying to, people that are white are walking away from that method of eating.
Yes, they're walking away from that method of living. And Sister Ruth Priestley has always said, eat like a cow, but don't be a cow. So Sister Ruth, I know you will come back to that to tell us more about the advantages of eating near the ground, as Dr. B is saying.
Okay, so let me just give one of the sites that you can visit to find out more. I'm going to give some information. I'm going to send some information so that it can be shared to whoever wants access to it. American College of Lifestyle Medicine. The website, you can just go to the American College of Lifestyle Medicine website and go to patient education and so on. So under nutrition, the recommendation again is eating minimally processed whole food plant-based nutrition because the food is as close to its natural form as possible. It still has most of its nutrients. It's still very rich in fiber. So what do you want to eat more of? Vegetables, again, mushrooms, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts, seeds. Drink of choice should be water, water, water. Everything else should be a treat. What do you want to avoid? Sugary drinks like soda, juice, cocktails, coffee, and energy drinks. Processed meats like sausage, bacon, salami, bologna, deli meat, etc., etc. Processed snacks like crackers, chips, and pretzels, cakes, pastries, sweets, dairy, especially the high-fat types, and those with added sugar. You want to reduce your intake of red meat, poultry, and eggs. I know this is going to offend a lot of people, but that's really how your body was designed to work. We're not telling you that you cannot have fun, but you want to limit or avoid. And for those of you struggling with a lot of health issues, if you make that change, you're going to see an unbelievable turnaround in your health. So
yeah, Dr.
again,
B, not to cut you short. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I was going to ask you a question about advertising and what is happening to us now, because we cannot really resist certain things, because the more they hit us with advertising about those things and the more they provide those things in the markets, we all go for it and we forget that there are better choices.
Yes, sir. So you're absolutely right. But again, I go back to the whole thing with choices. It's true, there's temptation, but even when you're tempted, you still have to choose. And so this is why I said choice really has a lot to do with discipline, where you decide this is okay and this is not okay, or I want to be well. I know this tastes good. Maybe I can do this once a month or once every few weeks, but I can't do this all the time. This is not the way that I want to treat my body. It's like basically garbage in, garbage out. You cannot have, I'm just giving a crazy example right now. Let's say you have one of these nice expensive cars. Let's say a Lamborghini, right? and they tell you put super gas in it, like the highest quality gas, and then you want to put the lowest quality gas, and you expect that thing to work well. And that's kind of how we treat our body when we subject them to all those processed foods. Your body does not recognize them. They've added a lot of other things in the foods that are not ideal for your body. And over time, they cause a lot of dysfunction in your body, including what we call dysbiosis or microbiome dysbiosis. And so the one thing I always try to think about with food is that the part where most of the things get into your body is through your mouth. And so your body does the best it can to censor the things that come through. You have acids, you have different things that kind of monitor the food and break it down and try to disinfect it. But also, because it is the primary entryway for different things into your body, that's where your immune system gets its cues. And they're doing more and more studies now. If any of you are interested, there's this gentleman, he's based in Charleston, South Carolina. He's a physician. He wrote a book on the fiber-fueled gut. And if you want, you can read it. You can go get the book online. Again, I'll send an image of that book to Africa Online WhatsApp group, and anybody who is interested can read it. It helped so many people. If you can teach your body how to behave well by eating properly, you're going to cut back on a lot of problems. I mean, they're finding more and more illnesses tied to any kind of dysbiosis in your gut microbiome. The way you think about it is that this body you have, you're not the only one who occupies it. You are the person that owns the body, but there are a lot of other people that occupy it, including microorganisms. There are millions and billions of them in this body. And they all function in different ways. They communicate with each other. They negotiate with each other to exist, to coexist. And when you don't treat your body well, you disrupt the natural flow of things in your body. And it leads to a lot of other health issues. So nutrition is one of the biggest things that we talk about. And also it's tied to obesity, which is really a big problem. Obesity drives a lot of other health issues.
Ambassador Lisa?
Yes. I can't see if is Prophetess Ruth still here?
Yes.
Ruthie, if you can share a little bit about your testimony, about how you shifted your lifestyle and how that benefited your health and your heart, just to encourage the people.
Okay. In 1997, I was diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy, and my heart was functioning at 23%. And rather than, I listened to the doctors, I really did, but I knew that I wanted to try something different because I was already working with my sister who was diagnosed with MS, and we decided to make lifestyle and dietary changes. So through those years of just listening to my body, I tell people, listen to your body. And people say, well, what's the best diet? The one you will follow. So that's why we have to start small. Like, what's the one thing we can do? So I just kept adding more fruits and veggies and exercising, going to bed early, all those things that are the 6 pillars of health, better relationships. And 21 years later, I now have a normal functioning heart. Sometimes we want things overnight, and, I didn't get sick overnight. It took years of me beating my body up. And I actually got sick because I was worried about everybody else and making sure everybody else was taken care of. So when I put me first, I am healthier now at the tender age of 68 years old than I was when I was in my 40s. And I really do, I covet and hold on to my health. I don't allow people, places, or things, or food. Yes, I'm not perfect. I eat different things, but it's like Dr. B said, it's every once in a while. It's not every day. And I'm not going to feed my car better fuel than I would feed my body. People say, this is expensive. Heart disease was very expensive. And an organic apple, not so much. But heart disease and being sick and not being able to breathe and not being able to walk, that's expensive. So you have to put it on the scale. What's more important? the quality of your life or eating, because people say, well, those foods that we're talking about, the snacks, why call them non-food? They're non-food. They put them on the market and they're less expensive, but at what price are we paying to eat less expensive food? Because when you give your body good fuel, you don't need as much. So that's what happened. I have a normal functioning heart. I have heart disease on every side of my family. Everybody was kind of worried about, the shutdown, and I just kept feeding myself what my body needed so that my immune system would be strong. And Dr. B said it earlier, you have to get to the root. What's the root of this? What's the root of your eating habit? What's the root of your drinking? What is the root? And when you get to the root of something, then that's when healing comes. And health truly is your greatest wealth. So I'm worth the investment, and so is my husband. So thank you.
Thank you, Prophetess Ruth, for sharing that. I wanted to share because, as we talk about lifestyle changes, as I said in my opening remarks, it takes time. Make one change and stick with that one change so it becomes a habit and it's natural. Then you can make the next change. And next thing you know, by the end of the week, the end of the month, you have made 4 or 5 different changes towards your health being your greatest wealth. And if I'm not mistaken, Ruth, your sister who has MS, who looks absolutely fabulous, she's not on any medication, correct?
She is not. She is not.
Is not, and she has MS, and she is not on any medications at all because she eats right, she's exercised, she goes to bed, and she took charge of her health. We need to take charge of our health. As Ruth said, we talk to our doctors, we get that wisdom, but most of us have naturopaths in our life and we attend to those and we go with the naturopathic way, but we need all of the information. We need information from here, there, and everywhere, and then you can make well-educated choices and decisions. I'm not sure what time is it.
We still have 5 minutes for 15 minutes to the top of the hour. Yeah. So
okay. I'm gonna ask Dr. B a question in that 5 minutes. See, I sent you the song so you can prepare. Thank you. Dr. B, I have a brother in Kenya and he has H. pylori. Now I know I have a friend here who has H. pylori and he ended up going blind from it. I'm concerned because he's in Kenya that he doesn't have the medications that.
You're unmuted. Yeah, you're unmuted.
Your call came in. So when I spoke to naturopath, he told me what was he taking? Garlic, and I can't remember what the other thing he told me for him to take. But those were things that his doctor in Kenya had told him to take as well because he couldn't afford the medications. What is your thoughts on naturopathy and the naturopathic way, especially for those who are in what we call countries who do not have access to medications as we have here in the States?
So I don't have all the answers to that because fortunately and also unfortunately, I've not had to be in that situation. I think, it's a good idea if somebody can help him get medications to do that 3-week treatment course. And then after that, stick with doing things the right way, like eating properly and so on. The problem with naturopathic is not that it doesn't work. It's just that there's not enough research to show how it works and the quantity. And, whereas with medications, we can prescribe a certain amount and say, this is what you're going to take. They've done studies. They've seen how long it takes for it to actually clear things up. And they can give you a defined treatment over a defined time period. I don't have an answer for that with the naturopathic stuff. And that's why we really need to commit to doing more research. We have a lot of good things that work for our people. We just don't have enough data to show that it's working so that we can actually quantify it and then use it in that manner. And so one person may say, hey, just take garlic. Well, how long do I take the garlic? How much do I take? What other health issues do you have? Is he a bleeder? Does he have problems that can cause bleeding and so on? So there are many other things. Garlic has a lot of good things in it. It thins your blood a little bit. It has antibiotic properties and other things. So it's a very good herb. But again, you need to know his entire history, and then you need to be able to quantify how much should he take, how long, how often. And those are questions that would be best answered if our people committed to doing research. We can't keep depending on other countries to develop things for us to use, because it's not necessarily fit for our own people, or it may be fit, but we need to tailor it to our own needs. And then we can also do a naturopathic, because the truth is that before medications existed, people were living and they were surviving and they were doing the right things. So medications are just a plus part of a human development, but there are a lot of other good things that work. I just don't have the supporting data on how much, how often, and how long.
Yeah, Dr. B, but certainly you have had cases where, which you can shout out for, that I talked to this patient, or I treated this patient, I handled this patient, and today the story is positive. Do you have some cases to share?
I think most of us physicians, we refrain from saying stuff like that just because we don't want to give an idea that we cannot fully support.
Okay.
If I met them one-on-one, I'll say, hey, try this, I know somebody who tried this and it worked for them. But online, I would never ever say that, because I need to support what I'm saying. Like evidence, it's unethical for me to say stuff that I cannot support with evidence.
That's right. Now, talking about lifestyle changes, what would you recommend to somebody on the continent of Africa who believes that, oh, I live and eat as I go along?
Well, if you can eat close to the ground, you're already on the right track. Lots of vegetables, lots of fruits, lots of there's nothing wrong with carbohydrates. You have to just eat high quality carbohydrates. So those that are high with low glycemic index, high in fiber, and so on. And if you do that, you're basically on the right track. Avoid a lot of the processed foods. Again, like we said, leave all those things that make you think that you've made it in life. All those, because I think that's part of the problem we have out there. People think if I eat all this, drink all this soda and juices with every meal, it means that I have money and I can afford it. And what you're actually affording is ill health. You're not affording anything else. Those things are not worth the trouble. They're not worth the trouble that accompanies them. So I think a bigger thing I'm pushing more for is a shift of mentality. Success is not what people show you on TV. It's how much you're able to live life to the fullest and accomplish your life-giving goals. So we need to stop looking at success as me buying all the sweets I want, eating all the ice cream with every meal, making as much cake as I want to eat, and eating it whenever I want to. That's not success. That's actually ignorance.
Are there diseases particular to particular age groups, or no, income groups? Like the rich get these diseases, the poor get these diseases.
I think you can say that, poor people, it's more diseases to do with things like infections, things that require emergency, because when you're poor, you don't really have money to buy a lot of oil, a lot of meat, a lot of all those processed foods, right? When you don't have money, again, it depends. It depends on where you're at. In Africa, when people don't have money, they can't really afford a lot of those processed foods, but they can eat straight off their farm. So actually, poverty kind of helps them in that way. But here in the US, when you're poor, a lot of people don't have access to farms. So what do? You eat those cheap meals that have no quality or no value, the ones that you can buy from the store, and they're heavily processed. So it depends on where you're at, and you find those different diseases. Like in Cameroon, it's hard to find poor people with heart disease. Where do you get all the money to buy all the oils and eat all those crazy things? But here, it's very easy to find it because people eat a lot of garbage. They eat a lot of processed canned meat and canned foods and so on that have no value. And then with wealthy people, again, it depends. But one of the things you see, diseases of affluence, things like diabetes and so on, because once people get money, they feel like they can eat more. Another thing is when people have money, they don't ambulate as much. You always jump in the car. In parts where people don't have money, they walk or they ride bikes, and that is actually physical activity. So, and then another thing too, when people have money, they have access to a lot of shenanigans. It's more likely that you can get some drugs, some alcohol. When you don't have money, yeah, if you're lucky, you can brew some at home. But again, it depends on the demographics and what money can buy for you in that demographic.
Yeah, you just touched on something I was going to turn to: exercise. How much does exercise contribute to our staying healthy?
A ton. That's one of the second things we wanted to talk about: physical activity.
Yes.
So physical activity doesn't mean you have to go to the gym every day. It means you need to keep active, keep moving all your muscles and joints and everything. And again, the proof is in the pudding. If you go, for example, We grew up in Cameroon. If you go to the villages where you have a lot of those old people, I mean, you see people in their 80s and 90s, they are even stronger than young boys. They don't go to the gym. They don't have access to any gyms. They are constantly walking, they're biking, they're active, they squat, they stand up, they're dancing. All those things that we do contribute to physical activity. If you do just those things, you should be fine. Now, if you want to step it up and say, let me go to the gym, then you can do maybe like some more high intensity activities. But if you just take care of your body and you stay physically active, you're moving thousands of steps a day, you're not sitting around all the time, you're not sitting and eating all the time, and you're using all your joints as often as possible. There are little things we do when you want to pick up something on the floor, you bend down or you squat, or little things you want to clean up, you squat, and all those things contribute to your well-being. They improve flexibility, they improve muscle tone. Here we would say, hey, we want you to do at least 50 minutes, at least 5 times a week, so we want you to do at least 300 minutes a week. That's because people now have become inactive. They have become more they spend less time being active. They're either sitting down watching TV or playing games or working in an office, and they're sitting in the car, so they don't really get around as much. So you have to quantify and tell them, this is how much we want you to do. And what they're also trying to push for in the activities, you need to include aerobics, you need to include strength training, flexibility activities, balance activities. When I was doing part of my training in Queens, New York, it was very interesting. We had this group of Asian men and women. I know they had to be at least in their 70s and 80s. Every morning on failing, there was a field that I used to walk by to go to the hospital because I didn't live far from the hospital. We had an apartment complex that was about 1.5 miles from the hospital, and we used to walk back and forth every day. And so every morning on failing, unless it snowed really hard, those people come sun or rain, they were exercising, they were doing their physical activities like Tai Chi and all those things. And they were not jogging or doing anything high intense. They were just staying active. They were doing a lot of balance, flexibility stuff. And so, I know that people want to hear you say go to the gym 7 days. Everybody doesn't want to go to the gym. Everybody doesn't want to jog. Everybody doesn't want to run. But stay very active. Move briskly when you're walking. Walk often. Use your hands, use your legs as much as you can, because the biggest muscle group in your body is in your legs. So that alone would take care of the problem of inactivity.
And where do we place sleep in all this?
Sleep is God's gift to mankind. Sleep is like, I don't know how to explain. I'm looking for a good word to use, but I call it not only God's gift to mankind, it's like the great reset button. It gives your body time to regroup, to arrange things, to clean up. It's like a business that closes down every night to restock and just clean everything up. If you went into a store that never took time to restock, you will not walk into that store a second time. Your body needs time to restock, clean up, rejuvenate. When you don't get enough sleep, all of those things fall by the wayside. Even your memory goes downhill, because when you're sleeping, your body actually consolidates your memory. It consolidates the things you've learned. It also heals, it rests, it cleans up, it cleans house. When you don't sleep, all of these things build up. One, there's no consolidation, there's buildup of toxins in your brain. Also, your body is just emotionally and physically exhausted. When you're tired, you're more likely to make mistakes. You're more likely to be irritable. When you rest and get up in the morning, I don't know if it's happened to you sometimes. One day you're so tired and you're like, man, I'm just exhausted. I just, and then you go to bed and wake up in the morning, it's like, I don't even understand why I was feeling so tired yesterday. Because your body has had an opportunity to rejuvenate. It's God's way of giving you strength. And I think about it, that God values sleep so much that he actually made it like 1/3 of our lives we're supposed to be sleeping. There's nothing that we do for 1/3 of our lives that is equal to sleep. Even our jobs, we don't do it for 1/3 of our lives. But sleep is something that you require from the beginning until the end. And then also, I feel like God even went as far as saying, I'm going to shut things down so you can go to sleep. Darkness gets in the way of human activity. But that's because you really should not be doing a lot at night except sleeping. So I just, sleep is a priceless part of the human existence. It's something that you want to do. What we recommend for sleep is, again, we talked about the negative aspects of not getting enough sleep. When people don't get enough sleep, they're actually worse than drunkards on the road. They've done studies on people that were tired. And one of the groups that they did studies on were doctors, because when we're doing the training and we're doing all those long hours, you don't get enough sleep. And they found them, a lot of doctors get into accidents all the time. They actually, it started off by them realizing that a lot of doctors have high car insurances. And they're like, why? And they found out because they get into a lot of accidents. Why? Because they're always tired. When you are tired, you're sluggish, you think slow, you act slow, you have a low attention span, you're not very sociable, you feel more depressed. You don't get enough of that deep sleep where a lot of the good things happen. You know, your body doesn't get to burn calories the way it should. You get hungry more often. And then you also have so many other things, you know, like increased insulin resistance. So your risk of getting diabetes goes up, your risk of having high blood pressure goes up. There are so many things that are tied to not getting enough sleep. One thing you also find, if people pay attention to their bodies, when you don't get enough sleep, you're more likely to get infections because your immune system actually is dysfunctional when you don't get enough sleep. So when you're tired all the time, you find anybody comes around you, you get sick. But when you get enough rest, your body is ready for everything. So things that you really want to do is avoid sleep disruptors like too much food or drink close to sleep time, avoiding blue lights like computers, phones, and so on. You really want to put those down an hour before you go to bed. You don't want to be drinking caffeine all day. If you're going to take caffeine, take it early morning and stop by about 11 a.m. Other things that disturb your sleep are stress, anxiety, and worry, noises and sounds, extremes of temperature. If it's too hot, you can't sleep well. If it's too cold, you can't sleep well. If you don't get enough daylight exposure, because the melatonin is actually, your body works in cycles, what they call a circadian rhythm. And when you don't get enough exposure in the daytime, your body doesn't have enough of the precursor to generate melatonin at bedtime. So you actually need daylight to be able to sleep well at night. Your body builds up the precursor to melatonin by exposure to the sun. And then when evening comes, it converts that precursor to melatonin, which is your body's cue. It's almost time for bed. And a lot of the things that interfere with things like the blue light, it actually suppresses your body's ability to produce melatonin. So there are also certain medications that you eat, that you take that could disrupt your sleep. And then sometimes the person you sleep with in bed, maybe they're snoring or they have all these different things like
Dr. B, we are at the top of the hour and we're going to spin our anthem. We'll be back with you. Just keep that line of thought. And everyone else, please get a sip of water and let's be back in the next 5 minutes to continue our discussion. It's very interesting. That is why we're going above time. I see buffering. Yes, please. You can hit the play button. The speed.
Africans have many bright ideas.
Okay, the right speed now.
Only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come, sit down, listen to my story. God gave us a wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, that's what people. It's so many cultures. Be the one. Stand up to make hands. Let us all unite behind Africa Online Media Corporation. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does. To identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards for people. With so many cultures, we are one. And for Africa. Let us solve all the problems bringing our continent and love of freedom. Let us empower Africans in the house of Africa and love of Africa. For Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation. That's a good way to start. And love they have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. Education for everyone. Prosperity for Africans. Facilitation for Africans. Cooperation. That's a good way to start. Civilization.
It's breaking up at this point. Maybe we'll stop it there. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And Prophetess Ambassador Lisa. Unmute. You're not muted. I mean, you're unmuted. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm like Reverend Pam. I'm in a noisy place, so I got my mic muted. But next week is February. It is the beginning of our Black History Month, and it will be the beginning of our Black History programs for the month of February. So next Sunday, we're going to be honoring law enforcement, Blacks in law enforcement. So if you are a police officer, you are a lawyer, you are anything in law enforcement, we want you to hit us up in our inbox and tell us, because we would love to have you on the show as we are honoring law enforcement next week for Black History. That's next week's topic. Now on to our fundraiser. Africa Online has an annual fundraiser, not an annual fundraiser, it's an ongoing fundraiser. It's called Operation Borehole 55. It is our desire to see a borehole put in every country on the continent of Africa. There are many, many government-approved clinics that do not have clean running water. Maybe I should say they don't have running water, and it's definitely not clean. So if you go to the doctors and your children don't go to the river and fetch a bucket of water, you are going to give birth in a clinic where the instruments have not been cleaned, the table has not been cleaned, and you will not be able to have a clean sanitary birth. So we need your help. We need everyone's help to help Africa Online put a borehole in Kenya and Cameroon. Hey, in there, Kenya and Cameroon. Our first borehole is up and running in Sierra Leone. The clinic not only has clean running water, there are solar panels, and the engineer was gracious enough to wire the delivery room and the waiting room. So not only does the clinic, government-approved clinic, not have water, most of them don't have any lights. So you are giving birth in the middle of the night with no lights, and the doctor is trying to maneuver and give birth while you have no lights. So we need your help. Visit us at AfricaOnlineTV.org and hit that donate button. We don't care if it's rands, pounds, shilling, we take it all. And there's no administrative costs that come out. All of it goes towards the borehole project. We have engineers on the ground who are overseeing our projects for us, finding us the right engineers, but we need to put a borehole in every country on the continent of Africa. Our next countries are Kenya and Cameroon. We can't do without you. Nia-san.
Merci, madame. Nous vous prions de nous aider à construire les points d'eau portables en Afrique. C'est dans les centres de santé développés dans les divers pays africains. On a commencé au Sierra Leone il y a de cela 3 ans. Et maintenant, on vise le Cameroun et le Kenya bien vouloir nous donner un peu de sous pour qu'on continue de faire cette construction. Merci beaucoup. Et pour la semaine prochaine, le mois prochain plutôt, on commence avec la semaine de Black History Month. On commence la semaine prochaine, le 3 février, en honorant les policiers, donc les forces de l'ordre. On va commencer la semaine prochaine. Si vous êtes de cette force de l'ordre, bien vouloir nous joindre la semaine prochaine et on verra quoi faire. Thank you very much. And that said, we are back to the discussion, and we hope that we're going to continue to do what we're doing, being healthy and staying healthy, and telling each other what to do to be healthy. Dr. B. Tazong is our guest, and she is in-house, and she is of our health team. Now, Dr. B. Tazong, what would you, again, let me go back to the beginning. What would you tell that African in the street who is getting a little out of shape because they are apparently not doing some of the things that you've told them to do to stay healthy and to look nice as they were when they were 16, 17, 18?
I call it age is a gift of life. Things are going to change, but they don't have to go downhill fast. You just have to apply wisdom. When you're young, you have strength on your side. As you get older, I'm sorry, one moment. My alarm is going off.
Yes.
So while she's taking care of that, as we get older, there are things that we can do. We may not be able to do the aerobics like we used to, but I'm finding chair exercises to be an amazing thing. So try that. As Dr. B was talking earlier before the break, she was talking about the Tai Chi, the stretching and the balancing. Find your local park. I'm sure everybody's got a Chinese community where you live. Find that park where those people are meeting and go out there and try Tai Chi. You don't even have to do that. You can just Google it online now and go to YouTube and find a Qigong or Tai Chi and exercises that do. Get those organs moving so they don't be stuck to your sides and they don't function. Dr. B, you back yet? Yes.
Yes.
I'm right here. I'm just waiting for that. My alarm things, and I'm sure it's driving everybody nuts. Give me a moment, please.
Please, okay. That being said, please, for the members of the panel, if you're on the screen, please start preparing your mind with your thoughts about, wrapping it up when we get to that point. That will be in another 20 minutes or so. So please start thinking of your last words. If you can write it down if you want, so that you have something to say, something to tell our listeners as we go along. Prophetess Lisa?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Who else? I can't see who else is here.
Yeah, there's Debbie. She said she was in Chicago last time. Yes.
While we wait for Dr. B, I want to ask Debbie. Debbie, while you were in Africa for almost 2 months, I believe. How did you handle exercise? What did you do for exercise while you were there? Did you do something specific, or was it just your everyday living that was your exercise, that everyday walking and carrying and things like that?
Yeah. That's a very good question about exercise in Africa. It was very difficult in Accra because there were cars everywhere on the streets, and I was living in an area where it wasn't rural at all. So it was difficult to walk. In Togo, it was easy because I was not living in Lomé. I was living outside of the capital. So I will say Benin and Kenya were different because in Kenya, I know where to go. I can always go to Karura Forest and walk there. But my experience from being in Africa is that regardless of where you are, in which country you are in, the capital always have issues of pedestrians because the cars go so fast. There's never any space for pedestrians. But if you live in the suburbs, it's always easy to walk around. So it was quite a challenge. And it is a challenge not because people don't like to walk, it's because when they're constructing roads, they do not provide sidewalks. They don't provide all that. So it's really the governing body that decides on what to do. Unfortunately, we just go with the flow. But I do recall seeing a lot of children running and playing soccer and doing things. There are gyms and all of that, but if you're not wealthy enough, you don't have access to all those facilities. So it's still a challenge to be able to walk and exercise in the continent of Africa. So that was just my observation.
Hello?
Yes, come on. Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. My alarms went off and my husband is taking care of them. So I'm sorry about that noise. If she shut off in a moment. I'm so sorry to interrupt. So there was something I wanted to mention about food that I always find very important. So if you want to make sure, for example, with food that you're covering all the bases, you want to eat the colors of the rainbow. Natural foods, not colored foods. So for example, when you're buying foods, if you make sure your table or your pantry is that colorful, or wherever you're keeping your food. Red, orange, yellow, green, green, white, white, green, blue, red, purple, and brown. And there are different foods. I will send out this information. Different foods that represent all these colors. If you do that, you're probably covering all your bases. So the question is, how do I? So when you're buying fresh foods, when you get into stores, for example, here, you want to stay on the edges because that's where they keep the produce. Try to get as many colors of foods as possible. You're covering your bases on that. And then I know we're talking about sleep and how it's crucial to your well-being, emotional, physical, mental health. When people don't get enough sleep, everything else becomes worse. Even their character, their behavior, their stamina, everything goes downhill. So sleep is really important. And then the little mistakes we make, for example, eating too much food before bedtime. Your body has to break down that food and kind of before you can rest. And then sometimes too, you may have heartburn when you go to sleep. When you've had too much to eat, your body regurgitates the food, so you have heartburn, and then you can't sleep well. Things like alcohol disrupt your sleep. So people take alcohol, they think it makes them sleepy, but alcohol actually it puts you to sleep for a little bit, then it disrupts your sleep, so you don't get a good night's rest. And then we have if you're eating foods that are high in sodium, like very salty things at bedtime, that's not good because it's going to make you get up in the night to go pee. Your body is so amazing that it knows to hold the pee until morning. And that's why if your body is working well, when you pee before you go to bed, usually you don't have to use the bathroom again until you wake up. And most times when you wake up, first thing you have to do is run into the bathroom because the body says, okay, now you're up, go empty the bladder. But when you're not in good health, or when there are things happening, or you don't eat well, or you drink water at the wrong time, your body has to go use the restroom when it's supposed to be resting. And the body knows all of these things. So if you're drinking too much water late in the evening, you're disrupting your sleep. If you're eating salty foods, your body's going to have to go pee out some water in the middle of the night. And all those things disrupt your sleep. Anything that makes you wake up from sleep unnecessarily disrupts your sleep, because your body has to go through different cycles of sleep, the different stages, and it keeps cycling and cycling through the stages. So when you keep waking up, you're interrupting some of the cycles. And sometimes your body has to go through different cycles to hit the deep sleep. If you keep getting up, your body probably doesn't get into the deep sleep where a lot of the healing and restoration and consolidation happen. So those are little things to keep in mind. Again, exercising late at night or late in the evening can interrupt your sleep. Being overweight, being obese can interrupt your sleep, because when you gain weight, it's not just the fat you see on your skin. There's also buildup of tissue in your neck and so on. And when you go to sleep at night, all your muscles relax. So the ones in your neck and so on, they relax and they close up your throat. That's what causes what we call sleep apnea, because the airway becomes closed up and you snore. And some people breathe and they stop. And that's why one of the ways to treat it is they use what a CPAP to basically force the airway open. They call it continuous positive airway pressure. But losing weight can take care of that problem. So when people have those kind of issues, one of the things they can do for themselves, again, not all apnea, but obstructive sleep apnea. There's one that is central, where is something happening in the back of your brain. But obstructive is basically stuff blocking your airway. Weight is one of the biggest culprits. When you lose weight, then you can sleep well at night, apart from you just having so many other issues. So you can see that everything is really tied together. There are little things we can do. Also, making sure that you have a steady bedtime. It's your body kind of clocks in. Your body tends to have a set wake up time. So when you go to bed late, you'll notice you can't even really sleep in. You have to wake up and then maybe go back to sleep. So it's better for you to go to bed on time so that you can get enough sleep, because your body will wake up when it normally wakes up no matter what you do. You have to now send it back to sleep.
Yeah,
So
Dr. B, there's this other aspect of life that we tend to ignore or take for granted, staying connected with each other. Is conversation with neighbors or with friends a good thing, a positive thing that can reduce some of your stress?
Okay, Nia Song, if you give me a moment, I'm going to get to that one, because those are the last three pillars that we've not discussed. One of them is avoiding risky substances and basically risky behavior, things like alcohol, drugs, cigarettes. All of those things contribute to ill health. Alcohol, apart from causing, you having issues, behavior issues, there's an increased risk of violence. Where people drink, they're more likely to get drunk, and when people drink, there's also more likely to escalate any kind of conflict. When your brain is not steady because you have had something to drink or you've done some drugs, you're more likely to pick a fight, start a fight, or get caught up in a fight. And then even with guns, violence in homes, people are more likely to beat up on their spouses. They are more likely to shoot them down, gun them down, and do other harmful things when they're under the influence. And then also think about accidents and all the things that happen, not only on the road, but on the job. When people go on the job and they're under the influence, sometimes they make a mistake and they get crushed by instruments because they're not thinking well. So if you can avoid those risky substances, you significantly reduce your risk. And then alcohol also increases your risk for oral cancers. It increases your risk for liver cirrhosis and eventually liver cancer, which were some of the things that increase risk of death. Same thing with a lot of the other drugs that people use. Cigarettes definitely have been shown to increase your risk for COPD and lung cancer and other kinds of cancers. In fact, cigarettes can cause almost any cancer anywhere, from your mouth all the way down to your anus, every part of your body, even your hands. And then also it slows down the healing process, because what does your body need when it's healing? It needs good blood supply, good oxygen. What do cigarettes do? They compete with your red blood cells. They compete with oxygen for your red blood cells. So when you have a red blood cell, carbon monoxide from your cigarette binds tighter to the red blood cell than oxygen. So oxygen is basically pushed out of the way. And that really affects your ability to heal well, in addition to other things. And these are simple things that people don't really realize when they're doing them. You're enjoying the cigarette, but you're literally poisoning your body with every sip you take. So those are all the risky substance things. There's a lot more drugs and all those things. Those things we all know already. They make you dysfunctional. They make you more likely to get into other kinds of problems. So two more things that are tied to lifestyle medicine. One of them is stress reduction, and the other one is social connections, which Niason was talking about. So stress reduction. Stress is unavoidable, but how you manage stress is what really makes a big difference. You cannot control what other people do, but you can control how you deal with what they do. You can control how much exposure you get to certain things. If there are people that are constantly stressing you out, again, people have different positions in our life. Is there people that you can reduce how much time you spend with? Sometimes that's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to talk to them. Sometimes you have to find ways to interact so that you reduce the level of stress. Good stress is good because it gives you a push to keep doing things in life. But the kind of stress that is not good is the one where you're constantly under pressure. It's creating a lot of anxiety and depression. Some people even go ahead and commit suicide because of that. So you need to learn how to manage your stress. You need to find other ways of coping. You need to find other things that you can do to help you deal with stress. For example, connecting with others, getting involved in activities, making time for fun and just relaxation, keeping a gratitude journal. Gratitude is an antidote to a lot of things. taking care of your spiritual needs, make time to laugh. You should joke. You know, laughter is good medicine. It actually releases endorphins in your body, and that they call that's the wellness hormone. So those are all things that you should be doing more often. Try deep breathing techniques, anything that can help you relax, and that does not include drugs and alcohol. So I think those are some examples. And then one of the big things that causes stress in people's lives, and I kind of touched upon it earlier, is this thing about control. Once you start realizing how bad it is to control other people, you're going to start walking away from that behavior. Controlling or micromanaging other people is a sure way to make yourself miserable, because one, you're fighting a losing battle. You have to violate other people to control, manipulate them, or whatever. And I don't see how joyful that can be. So you have to start realizing people have a right to choose. You have to teach them how to make better choices, and you have to allow them room to fail sometimes. You hope and pray and wish that it doesn't happen, but everybody needs room to grow, and people need to be able to take responsibility for their own lives. So always trying to control every single outcome and how people behave and how people think and what they do and what they don't do, that is really suicidal. And it's a very critical part of becoming stressed out. So hopefully that people that are finding themselves in a lot of stressful situations. And the other thing about stress, when you get stressed out, you start abusing other things too, including drugs and alcohol, because you have to manage your stress. And that's why you need to find better ways to cope with stress. The last thing is social connections. We are social beings. Nobody can make it by themselves in this world. Even people that think they can make it, when they're in trouble, they look for other humans. So we need to have a connection with other humans. Studies have shown when people get sick, when people have heart disease, when things happen to people, what keeps them going are the connections they have. Just the encouragement you get from other people, knowing that there are people that need you, they love you, they care about you, they are reaching out to you. That goes a long way in sustaining you as a human being. One of the biggest reasons people were dying during COVID was what? Isolation. They were not getting the human connection. So and even in other places, one of the things that kills people the fastest is lack of human connection. It literally sucks the life out of you. So it's important, and that's something that we get, and hopefully we don't lose it. But now that also means we have to learn how to connect well with other people. It's not just enough to connect with people. We need to build healthy relationships, healthy connections that allow us to be the best, to give the best, and to receive the best from others. So, for example, research shows that the single most important predictor of human happiness and long life, single most important predictor of human happiness and having a long life is having strong social connections. Health-related measures like blood pressure and heart rate improve even with short positive social interactions. So for example, tips on how you can, again, I think especially on the continent of Africa, I think we are very good at that. Hopefully we don't lose it. We don't become too westernized and we forget what it means to have other people. Even when people are going through things, I'm thinking back now, you know, when people are going through different things, the reason why they make it is because they have people around them. When somebody dies, people come and surround you, they keep you, they hold you up. When there's an old person in the neighborhood, people just make it their business to stop by and check in on them to see if they need something. Are you hungry? Did you take a bath today? I saw it happen and I was like, this is, you know, when you come here, you forget that. But that's what we do. We look out for each other, and that goes a long way. So just keeping those connections going is a life sustainer, and it's a source of joy and happiness for people. It doesn't matter what you're going through. Most of the times people survive because they have other people holding their hands, picking them up, lifting them up. Sometimes you're about to faint and you have other humans who will just grab you and pull you out of it, or just hold you until you can make it through. And that's another gift from God, fellow humans.
Thank you very much, Prophetess Ambassador Lisa. There is a Joy on the screen. Can you call on her? I think you know her better.
Yes, we want to hear from Coach Joy, Coach Carla. We're so glad the transformation coach is here. We are about to close, but we did get started a little late, but we do want to give her a little time for the audience there from her. Coach Carla, welcome to Africa Online. We got about 5 minutes. Can you just, you know, tell us a little bit? We're going to make a show. We're going to have you on and get to hear, spend a lot of time with you.
This is not fair. This is not fair. After that most amazing presentation, you want me to say something? Thank you so much for all that you shared. It sounds as though you went through the pillars of health according to the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. That was
yes.
an amazing and powerful and information-packed presentation. I just encourage everyone to take a look at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. They have free continuing education courses where every single one of us can get a better foundation in the information. I do presentations every Friday night, hosted by the inimitable prophetess Ruth Presley. But the American College of Lifestyle Medicine has a program where you can take it at your own pace and you can learn all this information and you can have access to the research, so that if you're research minded, you can follow up that way. And if you're not, you can at least get the basics of the pillars of health and know that you're moving in the right direction. Thank you so much for laying
Carla, make that
foundation.
your last word. Yeah, Carla, make that your last word. Add something to make it your last word, please.
Use the direction of the Holy Spirit to guide you on your next steps. Thank you so much for being here and for that wonderful presentation.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Coach Carla.
Sister Ruth, we're coming to you for your last word.
Well, I just want to thank you. You guys, you know, I get here as often as I can, and it's always rich and fulfilling. And Dr. B is, I quote her all the time when she said, one of her sayings was, why are we still eating like slaves? The food that we're eating is the food of slaves. We are not slaves. So eat like royalty. That's my last word. Eat like royalty.
Eat like
Eat
royalty.
like
And eat like a
royalty.
cow.
Like royalty. That's very good.
Eat like
Debbie,
royal cows.
I was
Eat
going
like
to
royal cows.
Yeah, eat like a cow, yes. Debbie McCommett, where did she say she was? Anyway, go ahead. Unmute yourself and give your last word. Debbie.
Wow, thank you so much. Dr. B, you nailed it, Dr. B. Thank you so much. We hope you can come again and empower us. We love you dearly. Thank you, Dr. B.
Thank you very
Uncle
much.
Atom.
Gloria, Dr. Gloria Crosslin, are you still with us? Please unmute and give us your last word. Dr. Crosslin is apparently should come in later. Deborah Wilburn, please. Yes, sister. I always tend to forget you, but go ahead. Give us your last word.
It's okay. I just want to thank Dr. B for all that she said. It's like confirmation for a lot of things that I've been learning in the past weeks or so. And I thank you for all you said and did.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Prophetess Lisa, co-host.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. B, and to everyone who has joined us today. We hope that you will decide to make that one change, whether it's exercise, in your foods, in any of those 6 pillars of health. Decide to make one change. Don't try and look at the whole pie. You can't eat a whole pizza. Slice it up and assign a certain amount of time to one thing, and you will be amazed in a month, in 2 months, in 6 months' time, how so many things have changed in your life. So that's my last word on the subject. Make one change in that 6 pillars of change, in that 6 pillars of lifestyle changes. Pick one thing and make a change. Come on, we can do this. We can live healthy, we can live wealthy, and we can eat like royalty.
Thank you very much, Dr. B. Tazon. You're welcome back to the program. Your last word.
I just want to say thank you. I absolutely love lifestyle medicine because it's just a way of giving people back the power to take charge of their lives and their health. And it's a low-cost way of actually taking care of yourself if you follow the rules of the game. I am grateful that God has given me an opportunity to be here and to share. And I pray that we will take heed and do the right thing so that we can get the right outcomes. Don't expect the result for something that you did not do. You will only get as much as you put in, and I hope and pray that you can get the best out of the choices that you make. I am going to send some resources. Nia-san, which is the best way? Should I send it to the group, to the WhatsApp group, or what's the best way to send it to the
WhatsApp group.
I'll do that then. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Sister Deborah. Thanks for the rainbow, as always. Sister Ruth, thank you very much for the rainbow. And thank you, everybody, for being here.
Yes, just a minute. I really want to thank Dr. B. Dr. B, I'm sorry I couldn't speak because I have toothache, but I really want to appreciate you. This is a wake-up call for all of us, including me. So thank you so much, Dr. B, and everyone who participated. Thank you, Niason.
Thank you all very much, and see you next week. Please, we will be honoring our forces of law and order. Thank you very much. See you next Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, Dr. B.
God bless.
Bye. Thank you.